viewers, do you have any incidences that you've had somebody that has been sick for quite some time, being treated but they don't respond to medication? So these are just some of the signs that we are seeing in the current era that we need to discuss about. So have you ever heard of a term antimicrobial resistance? So much technicality in it, but I want to put it in a context that you will understand what you're talking about when you talk about antimicrobial resistance. So the scenario that I started by asking you, we have people that are on medication, people that become sick, they have infections, uh, probably they have a condition, and whenever they are treated by the doctors with the right medication, the right prescriptions, they don't respond to the medication. So what is coming out strongly is that there are so many people that are undergoing this situation. And what is the cause? So there are so many different causes that can lead to that, but one of the most outstanding one is what you're going to discuss in this segment today. When we're doing livestock rearing or livestock production, we are we have a lot of inputs that we put into the animals, and one of them is the drugs or the medication that we do. And most of the drugs that we use for treating conditions for animals are antibiotics. So, just to bring you fast with speed, there have been campaigns against the use of antibiotics in the rearing of livestock, especially the dairy and also poultry, because those are the most prevalent species that we raise in high potential areas, and those are also the animals that we tend to compromise their living conditions, so that we subject them to diseases, and then we are forced to now treat them. So the situation on the ground is that the records and the numbers that we are seeing are quite alarming from the deaths that are coming from these issues of antimicrobial resistance. Currently, annually, we are having almost 1.5 million people dying of this antimicrobial resistance. And the projection shows that by the year 2050, we will be having over 10 million succumbing annually through this antimicrobial resistance. Something needs to be done, and if it has to be done, it needs to be done urgently. So the use of antibiotics in the livestock rearing is mainly for three purposes. The first purpose, which is the main purpose, is for treatment, and this is where the livestock gets ill, and then you're forced to treat them using the antibiotics. The other scenario is that the antibiotics are also given to these livestock so that to act as preventive mechanisms for diseases, and this is mostly in systems that are compromised in the biosecurity. Animals are raised in a situation where there's a lot of stress in stocking density, in hygiene issue, and the farmers feel like if these animals are not given these antibiotics to prevent them from diseases, then they will actually get the disease, and so they give them as a preventive measure. We have other systems where they use these antibiotics as growth promotants, enhance the systems of these livestock so that they can be efficient in terms of productivity, to increase the FCR and also the livability of this chicken. So whatever is happening currently is that farmers are not very serious on issues of management, and they've resorted to use the shortcut, which is medication, to rear their animals, which is going to have a very big repercussion in the market. So take a scenario when you're rearing your livestock and they get sick, and you have to treat them, and some of them, like for example, short cycle poultry like the broilers, they only take a month. But then you'll find like some farmers use a lot of antibiotics to get these birds to the market. We have the layer birds that stay for quite some time in the farm, like over a year. But then in that sequence of a year, some farmers even go to as high as treating them even 10 times using different kinds of antibiotics. So also in the dairy sector, we have these high yielding animals. The Fresians, the Ashers, the Jerseys, they are very susceptible to diseases when the conditions are not right. So what the farmer does is just act quickly and administer the antibiotics every time they see a sign or a symptom of a disease. So what the repercussions that are coming from these actions are very dire, because When you go to the drug industry, whatever causes these infections or diseases to animals also causes the same, and some of the diseases in humans. So the active ingredients in the drugs that are used and the antibiotics that are used to treat these animals is mostly the same active ingredient in the drugs for humans. So if this poultry, if this dairy, if this beef, they are subjected to antibiotics at a very high load, those traces of the antibiotics get into the system, and then they are shedded out through the products. They shed out through the eggs, through the milk, through the meat. So when somebody consumes these livestock products, then they also consume the traces of the antibiotics into their body. So what that means is that somebody has a high load of antibiotics in the system, and when they get sick or they have an infection and the doctor prescribes, the system does not respond because already it's laden with those antibiotics. And with these disease-causing agents, the bacteria and the others, they become resistant over time with continual use of a certain drug. They also undergo mutation so that they can survive and proceed with their lives, and also procreate and generate with continual use of these antibiotics. These disease-causing organisms, the bacteria and the others, they also get resistant. So when somebody gets ill and they are medicated, the system is laden with the traces of the antibiotics. It becomes very difficult for that person to get healed, and then they have to be administered higher and even stronger doses of the drug. And sometimes the load is so big that nothing can respond to the system, and somebody dies of very simple infections or very simple diseases. This is an outcry that is currently happening. Wanted to put it in context so that you can understand that when you hear people talking about the prudent use of antibiotics, let us use the antibiotics in a situation that is very dire, in a situation that we have to save maybe the livestock, but not use it as a tool for management, for production. And currently, the products that are being marketed, especially for you to do any export and even uh, import marketing, or we are recommending for the consumption of antibiotic free products. And it's high time that the farmers get to understand that treating should not be part of the management practices. We should prevent these diseases from coming. And most farmers have been trained. They have gone through steps on how they can run their farms in a secure way. And that's why when you hear people talking about biosecurity in livestock, it is very important. And it has come to a time that we need to have these discussions. So the moment that you keep on treating these birds, you keep loading the antibiotics into the system of the birds, and this creates the resistance of those microbes to responding to medication. Each time you buy antibiotics into your farm to administer to your livestock, just know that you're endangering so many lives ahead, because after all, those products have to go to the market. So what we want to say is that let farmers get to understand the prudent use of antimicrobials, and also the policy actors, the people in charge of extension, the government, NGOs, and anybody who is in the space of supporting farmers. Let them know that there is a repercussion that trickles down to their generations, that trickles down to their families, that trickles down to the world. And as we look ahead, from the numbers, 10 million people dying annually because of something that we can control, I think we need to rethink on our strategies on how we're doing the farming. So antimicrobial resistance is a topic that needs to continue being discussed, and the farmers need to be enlightened, and also the consumers. I will surprise you that some of the farmers produce what they cannot consume, and this actually cuts across the entire ecosystem of agriculture. Let's take a scenario where in a dairy setup where these animals are loaded with antibiotics, and it's shed through their products, and their products are the meat, the milk, and also the manure. And that manure is being taken to the farm to plant vegetables. So those traces of the antibiotics will still seep through the system and get to the plants, and you'll consume the plants. So you might avoid the livestock products but still get it in the crops. So what I'm saying is that this is the holistic mode of approach that should be used in all the sectors to prevent this issue of antimicrobial resistance. Let's keep interacting about this. It's a discussion that we are opening. Feel free to reach out and also have some inputs in it so that we can see how we can about these menace. So thank you very much for the support that you're giving us, and please raise other topics that you want us to discuss and open a discussion so that we get to know and what is happening in the world, because things are changing at a very high pace. Kindly subscribe and let's keep interacting.